Hey YouTube, how's everybody doing today? So in this video, I'm going to show you guys how I made a track called Falling. It's been mixed. I mastered it and mixed it and produced it myself. As an amateur producer, take everything I say with a grain of salt. But I'm hoping that you guys can take something away from this walkthrough. Um, Two quick things. I've never done a walkthrough video like this before. I don't know how long it's going to take. Hopefully I can kind of blast through it, give you a general overview, and give you some ideas for how you can progress using whatever techniques I have within this track. And second, I apologize in advance. I don't know what's going on with my mic, but there's these random white noise bursts coming through. I've tried uninstalling drivers. I've tried reinstalling. I've tried updating. I've tried rolling back. I've tried changing the hub that my interface is plugged into because I thought maybe it was a power tie down issue. Nothing seems to be working, so I don't know if it's my audio card and my interface or what the deal is, but apologies in advance for that. If anybody has any suggestions, I'd love to hear them. To the track now, I'll give you a quick rundown, little listen to, so that you can decide whether you want to stick around or not. Yeah, so that's kind of a quick overview of the hook of the track here. I guess I'll just run through track by track. I would like to get into some of the arrangement because I know for me that's something that I sometimes struggle with. Figuring out how to arrange a block or a feel is not too difficult, but then turning it into a full song can be tough sometimes. So see if I can get into that. First things first, I've got a ghost kick set up here, and this is just going to be triggering side chains and a whole bunch of different channels that I have set up in this all group. And all it is a duplicate, I believe, of the kick. And then I have set it to sends only, so that track isn't playing, it's just sending signal, and you can use it as a sidechain trigger. You could go into a track like this and maybe make the tail a little bit shorter so that your sidechain trigger is just the transient of the kick, and then you can adjust the release of your compressor however you like, but I left it. I'm lazy. So we'll get into the kick here and the bass bus, I guess, first and foremost. So there's a bunch of different layers. I believe with the kick, I created it using Ableton's DS kick, and I haven't really done much to it. I'm finding based off of actually a tutorial done by Marsh, so thank you for that. He doesn't tend to layer kicks too often, and I like that methodology because once you start layering a kick, if you don't have your phase set up correctly with your layers, you can actually start pulling away from like the fullness of the kick. So that's a tedious process. You can do it. You can totally do it. Teach their own, but I'm finding that this works pretty well for me. And basically what I've done here is once I bounced the waveform from the kick that I had designed using DS Kick, I went in using a technique that Sarah Landry shows, actually, so shout outs to her for that, in one of her tutorials. And basically the waveform of the kick, I guess I can't extend it because I cut it, but I edited it so that the initial hit of the kick is pushing the speakers out. So if you zoom way in on the waveform here, see what the crossover of this, a little bit distorted sine wave essentially starts right at the 0 point, and that amplitude is representative of power being sent to your speakers and actually pushing them towards you. So that's a good trick. Instead of having it start of your kick being here and having the speakers sucked in, and then half a second later pushing out. This ensures that you're going to get a punch right at that particular period that you have your kick laid out in your track. So it's pretty punchy that way. And then a little bit of basic EQing where I remove some of the mids, just to make it kind of bassier. And then I think I just have a clipper on here to control volume, not doing too much. Barely doing anything at all, because there's no point in squashing the hell out of everything. So that's the kick. Moving on to the lows. So I have this rumble piece here, which is built off of the kick, and I believe I ran it through some distortion and reverb, something along those lines, and then I basically ducked it so that every time the kick hits, that's not present, and then the rumble kind of comes in to fill in that gap afterwards, and then fades out again before that kick hits. So you have space. There's something between the periods where the kick isn't hitting. So yeah, that's kind of cool, and it's really low in the mix because I found that if I had it higher, the bass layers I had here muddied everything up, and it's not a centerpiece of the track, so it's really low. I have it tied to, actually, yeah, I have it tied to that channel, this whole bus here, bass shit. And so anytime basically there's anything playing within this channel, that's ducking, to give even more clarity to the bass layers, because I wanted that to come through more than the rumble. And then some drastic EQing to keep everything in the kind of sub area. So you can see the signal's really low, it's barely audible. And then why not clip that, because it's not a centerpiece. Any piece that pokes out within that section, you don't really need it because you're not really hearing it anyways. So let's just kind of put it below everything. And then, yeah, it looks like I've sidechained it a bit more here, and sidechained it to the kick as well, just in case there's some bleed through. So that's that. Moving on to the bass shit bus here. So there's a bunch of different layers. There's a sub, which isn't really a sub, it's kind of plucky, but it has a sub element to it. And then there are layers over top of that. So when I was designing these subs, I was taking into account the area that they are sitting in on the frequency spectrum, and also the time that they're playing at. So you'll notice there's not really many notes that are overlapping here, so I'm kind of trying to give everything its own area in terms of like breathing room. Sine is playing, nothing else generally plays except for this verb bass here every once in a while. So looking at this, I used analog within Ableton, probably just, a plucky envelope setting with the filter here, and same with the amplitude. Pretty straightforward. A saw wave is with a single oscillator is doing all of the work here, and then I've boosted some of the low end information. And cut some of the mids because I'm going to have other synths and such sitting here. And then sidechained it, I believe, yeah, to the kick. So not a drastic change, but you can see there's some compression going on every time the kick hits to give it room to breathe in the low end, and that it has a chance to recover fully in terms of volume before that next kick hits. So moving on to the verb bass, I'll go into here. Yeah, so this bass here is another wavetable, or sorry, a wavetable. I don't have an instance of that yet. It's like a blend between a square, I guess, and like almost a weird saw or something along those lines. Similar setup, envelopes, snappy, and then there's a fade in on the attack so that it kind of swells quickly before coming in fully. And then there's another waveform I blended in a little bit lower in volume. I don't know, it doesn't do much. It gives some body, I guess. And then this reverb is set up so the dry signal of the wavetable here comes through, and then there's a large pre-delay, and then that verb is heard. So, right? So it's kind of like a call response sort of deal. And I've cut a lot of the lows out on that because it's just an embellishment, and it's not it doesn't need really much weight, and especially when you have, for reverb, you don't want a ton of low end information generally. And I cut the highs too to keep it a little bit darker. Decay is short so that the reverb kind of fades away before the next hit of that bass comes in, and it doesn't muddy itself up. And then, I'm focusing more on the mids, I guess, within this bass, if you want to call it that, just because we have the sub and the kick doing a lot of work in the lower area of the spectrum. And then an imager plugin to kind of give it some image. So I'll group these. And again, you're never really mixing like this in solo. You're doing everything well. You're mixing while everything is playing in your track so that you can get a sense of where everything should be sitting and get the blend right. But this is an overview, so I'm going to solo kind of and walk through. So a lot thinner, a lot spacier. And then we have this resonant here, which I think my tutorial, or trial rather, for the Divas run out. Yeah, the demo's run out, so sorry I can't get into that, but it's another standard saw-like pluck. Nothing really too special. I'm clipping it a bit, I think. Not much, probably. Yeah, just in case there's any transients that are poking out that I don't want. And Soundtoys little plate to bring this sound a little, giving it some space, but also bringing it a bit closer in the mix. That's what plate reverbs are very good at. So just, yeah, spatial feature anyways. And then taking care of the stereo image again. And taking into account where all of the other channels are sitting in terms of this stereo image. And then rolling off some lows and some side lows, frequency lows, so that I think the chords and stuff kind of sit more in that region. So giving them some space. And then this final layer is the saw pluck. Now this has been made with Dune. Chubby Chops arc. It's a beast preset. Love it. I don't know. I just picked it. And then we got some delay. Echo Boy Jr. Cutting lows again and highs. So having the delay sit kind of more in the mid range, and again cutting some of the lows from this channel so that everything kind of has its own space, or leaving space for the sub and kind of keeping everything else out of the way. That's the thought process. Whether or not, it's working as well as it can, who knows? I'm doing this for fun, so. And then I have on this bus here, just a limiter. Which really isn't doing too much, because I don't like squashing. It needs to be squashed. My sound's too much. Having like a really minimized dynamic range, in my opinion, leaves some of the interest out of music. Like you listen to it once and you've heard every single element because everything's sitting at the front of your mix. You have nothing left to pick out when you listen to the song, 10 times or whatever. So that's why I try not to squash things too much. People can, turn up the master volume on whatever they're listening to hear your stuff better. Um, yeah, get it loud, but don't squash the shit out of it. So that's that, and then I think there's just a filter here which is probably being automated. So throughout the track, it drops down, which is I'm sorry, this is actually a high pass filter. So some of the lows get pulled from the signal, and just to remove cool down and some other breaks, the heaviness of that, so that when it comes back in during the drop or whatever the main sections, it's not as thin. Everything sounds bigger. So that's that. And then the lows here, there's some processing on this whole rumble bass shit bus. So there's a glue compressor. I think, this is catching any transient peaks. And again, I don't think I'm doing a ton. So it's just looking for those peaks, and it's pulling them down with a heavy ratio here by a large amount, and it releases right away. So focuses on those clicks kind of and pops or whatever. And then this compressor is much more tame and is responsible for actually kind of gluing everything together, giving a little bit of tone, because this is made by some company, I forget, Cytomic. Look at that. I think it's modeled after SSL shit. So and then in the effect rack we have some decapitator to bring out character. So it's pretty subtle, and then a final limiting section, which is doing more because there's some spikes going on when one of those weird poppy basses, sawy poppy basses hits. So again, take it with a grain of salt. Don't squash the shit out of your stuff if you don't need to, if it's not the style of music I guess you're going for. And then this whole section is triggered, the side chain is triggered by the ghost kick, and everything is brought down in volume. So here's in terms of processing. So you can tell, like, I tried not to do too much, basically, because I thought that everything already was sitting well enough within the low end section. And then the kick and bass, like all the lows and the kick, are going to this final bus section here, which has a tube compressor for a little bit of color. I don't think it's doing much either, but gluing everything together, like barely touching the needle. And then I thought that the bass needed a bit of energy, so added that in. Final limiter for everything, just like that whole low end section. Okay, where do we want everything sitting in comparison to everything else? So again, there's this crazy spike there. It's catching those spikes, but everything else, which probably could be, I could probably go in and edit things a little bit better and prevent those spikes from happening. But I did mess around a bit and couldn't seem to get stuff sitting properly. So I was like, let's go with the limiter. Dynamic style. I haven't done much, I don't think, to the attacker release here because. And then I gotta soothe. Which is focusing on the low mids, and to me, or the lows and mids, to me, a little bit of muddiness that I'm hearing from the whole channel. I don't know, the kick seems to punch a little bit better with that on, and stuff seems to be a little clearer. And then some final filtering through every section. Right, so the low end's getting filtered here before some changes. I don't know, there's nothing even playing there, but right? So that gives you the idea that something is changing. Yeah, so let's move on to the drum bus. I have a snare clap, I guess, shakers, some. So there's your, yeah. Um, it looks like I'm sending the snare to a room reverb, which I've EQ'd lows and highs, and tamed a little bit of this like boxier region, I guess. Valhalla room, sending some of this signal to that reverb to give it a dimension, space. And then it looks like I've got a transient shaper on here, pulling the sustain down because I think it was ringing out for too long. So there's a tail that I didn't want with everything else. A little snappier. And then I guess I thought it needed some more body. Questionable, but whatever. And some automation on the volume. So at the start, it's quiet, and then I think I just leave it pretty much at the same level. So yeah, not a ton going on there in terms of processing. The loops here, there's a shaker, which it looks like I panned the shakers to the right. Let me just make sure I'm okay. I'm still rambling away. Cool. Yeah, and this is going to, again, that same room verb. So really subtle, but it's there. So for this, I guess on this shaker, saturated it just slightly, I'm sure, or maybe a whole bunch. I don't know. EQ'd the lows and probably made it, yeah. So I made it a little bit snappier as well. So a pretty drastic change. There's a lot going on in the stereo field without this. I guess I thought it was too busy with all of the other elements. And then this shaker here, I didn't even do anything on that. So you should be paying attention to where each shaker element is sitting within your the higher end of the spectrum, I guess, and pick stuff that complements each other and try to find maybe like this might even be considered sloppy. I don't know. I could probably shift this and try to fill in gaps here to see if I could get more of a vibe going or something, but it sounds bad by itself. But with everything else in the drums, aside from the kick, obviously it's fine. So that's the loops. And then this little verb hat here starts off every, I think it's, yeah, every 4 bars. Yeah. So whatever. It's a thing. Um, I took a sample from Production Music Live and I faded it out a bit to make it snappier. And then I added some delay, EQ'd, which I think it's a little clearer without that there, especially with everything else going on in the mix. And this is a parallel verb channel. Why I've done that. So it gives a little bit of space. It's weird because I've also sent it to this room verb here. So I don't know, 2 reverbs. Should you do it? Should you not? Who cares? Anyways, then we move to this overdrive, which gives it more brightness. So everything together. Not a whole bunch, but more space. With that delay and verb, adds some interest. And then this hat looks like I've got panned to the left slightly and this one to the right slightly. And I think this is another, yep, sample, same kind of deal. So I started it at a certain point and faded some of it out so it's a little snappier. That's a lot splashier and noisier. And then I brought some more of that, I think, out with the overdrive. Cut some of the mids and lows. Well, let's see. Yeah, so this sample had a lot of low end information that you can't hear, so why do we need it? We don't. It's just going to make things sound bad in the lower mids, so take it out. That goes to the verb. And then this hat here, let's see, softer, and that's kind of to complement this hat to the left. So now you have some width to that seemingly single hat. Yeah, and then just pay attention to where you're placing everything to get a proper groove going, I guess. And, with snappy stuff like this, depends if it's poking out a lot, maybe you want to compress the shit out of it. If not, leave it and let it be dynamic and let it breathe. Depends on what you want. So, and in this drum bus here, got a little bit of color with the saturator or decapitator, sorry, from Sound Toys. Different models of like units, and this is a brighter sounding unit, so I use that style. Probably not doing a ton. But again, it's on the bus and it gives everything within here the same kind of texture, so it makes stuff more pleasing in terms of like everything sounds more glued together, I guess. And then this is just catching peaks, which you can see it's barely really doing anything at all. Like I didn't want to crush the drums. They're samples. Everything's generally already playing kind of at the same volume unless you're going in and automating stuff. So if you're compressing, it's already kind of at the same level. So do you need to do that? But again, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just kind of messing around. So take some of the low end out here. So there's a little rumble going on down here. It's probably generated from this effect rack actually. So without this chain, it's just a little brighter and helps it poke out. And then this is Soothe is here to kind of pull down on some of the higher resonant frequencies that might have been present. Which actually sounds kind of extreme to my ears now. Maybe it works in the mix. Is it needed? You guys let me know. And then just a little bit of compression from the kick again, sidechain, not doing a ton. Because I kind of wanted the drums to still, you know, retain some power when that kick hits and not disappear completely, so I didn't duck them a ton. And then some more filtering. Let's see, what is this? High pass or low pass? So yeah, we got a low pass filter going on here, so it's removing some of the highs as the track progresses. And then when the drop comes, it opens back up to give you the entire listening experience. Yeah, so that's... Dear God, we're hardly anywhere. Let's keep going. The music bus. So I got a pad here that sounds like this, and I think this is very, very low in the mix too. So that swell from the chord pad comes in, then it drops out. There's some filtering and stuff going on, a bit of H delay, and some EQing. I think I did this to push the highs, basically, to give it like a shimmer in the background. Without it, it's pretty different. Where'd you go? So that EQ, PsyQ, I think. I think was like something, a piece of hardware back in the 60s that was very popular on vocals or something like this, and it does a lot to the mids and the highs. So I drove it and brought out some of the highs there. You know, you don't need any of these plugins to make good music. You just need to know how to use them. And then I guess I decided that this needed to be more present, so I put some OTT on it. So it just brings that high end, I guess, a little bit closer to the listener and makes it more interesting. And then what is this here? Oh, it looks like every 8 bars I have the delay kicking in, so it gives some space and then it closes off. Remove that space, make it the signal dry again. Yeah, so that's just like built-in transitions, kind of, right? Rather than using a whole bunch of different stock sounds and such. And then this reverb here, I probably got that automated. Yeah, so that increases in size near the 8-bar pieces, 16 bars, whatever you want, to give more space and then pull back on that space. So keep things expanding and contracting and changing, because this type of music is very repetitive otherwise. And then, yeah, some gradual EQing on the overall bus, so that those chords as well. I guess it's in here. Yeah. So, you know, this is going to be sitting higher in the spectrum. Like, there's still some lows, so I cut it a bit, but left some to keep like a gluey element there, so that the lower spectrum doesn't just have bass and that's it. There's something else sitting there and gluing the whole track together. And then this chord pad, I guess I took out some of the highs. And left the mids to mix together with this other worldly pad, just as a layer. Yeah, so that's the pad, And then the chords here. I did this. Yeah, this was all samples. The pad was samples. And then Spire, I think I just tweaked a preset. So this Nord pole preset and changed it to make it probably a little bit more pluckier. And I'm sure, yeah, I cut down on the built-in reverb, kept some delay, chorus, all those other effects on. EQ'd some of the lows. I thought that it helped it sit a little bit better in the track. And then because this is kind of like a more energetic element, I decided to use some OTT with the upwards compression pulled all the way down. So we're just doing downwards compression here. So it gives a bit of energy. Let's see. Kind of pulls the to me the mids forward of that a little. I have layers with the chords that give more energy too. And then some decapitator on punish, and I think, you know, it's not doing a ton again because I didn't want to destroy the sound. I wanted to maintain some of its integrity but boost some of the, give it some extra harmonics, make it a little brighter, a little more energetic, those types of things. And then some delay for space, cut the lows, cut some of the highs, shimmer for space again, but trying to keep in mind all of the other elements in the mix and where things are sitting. From isotope to give it like an old school sound, and then again more EQing. You can see the vinyl generating a whole bunch of noise and stuff here. So let's listen to that with everything and without. The section change, that this also changes from like a melody here. To just straight chords. It's built off of, like, I think your root fifth and probably an octave up or something like this. So here, I will group all of this. So yeah, some of the mids have been removed with this processing, and everything sounds a little cleaner to me, especially. It just kind of pushes, it keeps it energetic, I guess, but it pushes it back a little bit, especially to allow the vocal to come through. So yeah, it's all this is subjective, of course, but to me, the vocal pops out more when that is enabled. The processing is enabled, and then there's a sparkle layer with more crap on it that I can't. It's gonna take too long to explain everything. I hope you guys are learning something if you've watched thus far. Another Spire, and let's see, in terms of arrangement, yeah, it looks like I have this running alongside the chords. Same notes and everything most of the time. You know, I remove it here during the cool down, bring it back in, remove it here again. Just adding and removing at different parts, but yeah, I think it gives quite a lot of energy to the chords. Let's see. Yeah, so high end, not much mid range, and compressed it again heavily. Just because this is an energetic track and I wanted that boost. What do we got? Yeah, same kind of deal as before. I'm hesitant to open that sometimes because I've had my computer has crashed, or Ableton has crashed when I open the VST3 for Effect Rack. I don't know why. Then overdrive to bring out more highs, and filtering probably. I don't know if this is automated. No. So the filter here. I don't know if I did that to allow for another element or something to poke through here. Sometimes I'll do that where it's like, so you don't overwhelm the frequency spectrum and the listener. You have something like this, full volume or full frequency spectrum, and then you drop that filter down and introduce another element kind of above it to give some energy or some change, I guess, within the song. So yeah, and then more EQing and some gain automation to bring it up in volume during the cooldown. Drop it and then bring it back up again. Yeah, so all of these little changes in terms of like opening and closing filters and then messing with the overall volume of channels can give breathe life, I guess, into these types of tracks. Yeah, so and then I think I decided it wasn't enough. I needed more. I needed to put more stuff. So that's like barely audible, but it's a little ear candy that sits on top of these chords. It's playing the same notes, and I believe, yeah, it's something I made in Serum. Noise running through like a comb filter, lower mix, because I didn't want some like the flangey effects, I guess, of that comb to come through too much, but I wanted some of the texture, and then another type of filter, different white noise, and I pan them so that there's width to that, right? And then you can hear when the drop hits, I don't have it before, so that element's not there, and then the drop hits and that noise comes in to lift it just a little bit more. So again, it's really subtle, and sometimes those little subtle things can add to the track quite a bit. So that's layered above and gives just a little bit more energy and allows the drop to sound just a little fuller. The lead, I think, yeah, what did I do with the lead here? It's Diva again, so I'm sure my demo is expired. Sorry, guys. Some Decapitator, some Echo Boy, pulled some of the mids. I added a trance gate. Oh yeah, okay. So I did that to mix it in when the vocal comes in. So this part here, it's playing straight like sustained notes, and then when the drop hits, hey, what happening? So maybe, yeah, okay. So I just automated it down there in volume, and there's still it's really subtle, but okay, put the trance gate up and have it match the vocal, and then the beats are kind of synchronized, even though you can't hear the damn thing until later. As opposed to this. Oops. So there's a little bit of gating going on. Um, yeah, so I guess that's probably one of the bigger things. What's this pitch shifter? Oh, I shifted up. Probably probably don't even notice, but again, it's the little things. Okay, and then we got this layer to the lead. So I think that this is like a stuttered effect. It's another preset in Dune that I probably modified with an arpeggiator. Um, so let's see. Yeah, so it sits alongside that lead that's playing more sustained notes. And I have it panning back and forth. And then because this lead, I think, is taking more of the lead and should be weightier, I cut down on the kind of, there's like a fun that, I thought it was a little bit too loud, so I cut it down, cut that resonant peak down a bit, and had it sit alongside the lead. And some space things going on with the delay. So yeah, you can hear when the filter opens up here on the whole lead bus, that clicky, poppy sound comes through a lot more. So yeah, there's I guess, a reason in a sense for that layer. And then some very minor EQing um, phase and some OTT because it's a lead. And then filtering. So during the cooldown, we're going to drop it here in terms of the high frequencies. Bring it up. Mute it. And then here, I liked it when it was sitting a little bit lower, so some of the highs were still cut. Just letting the chords take the lead there because they're kind of fun, and I feel like you could dance to them. And then the lead just like, "Ooh, hey guys, what's going on? I'm back here. Listen to me." It's just there. So yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking for the lead. And then there's this like 303 sound that comes in every once in a while. Which I designed this patch in Serum. So it's like this acid waveform, a saw, and a plucky envelope controlling that bandpass, some drive. What is this LFO doing? I don't know, it's doing something. Then this LFO is controlling like the fine tuning of each oscillator here to give it some analog style feel, I guess. And it looks like it's also controlling the cutoff of the frequency and the resonance amount to add life into something that's probably would be boring otherwise. I saturate it quite a bit to get that like 303-ish style sound. Again, doesn't sound great by itself. It's okay, but I think it just kind of keeps the track driving along when the idea comes in. Right? Like without, it's a little bit hypnotic, psytrancey, whatever, something like this, and it just keeps the track moving. So, and then yeah, I crushed it with Devil Lock and put some delay, EQ'd all the stuff I didn't need, OTT again. Maybe I'm cheating with this. Do I need this much OTT? And then pulled some of the mids. Give everything else that's more important than this sound the space that it needs, I guess, within. Because I don't know, I seem to mix my stuff very mid-rangey. I'm not sure why that is, but. And then some little plate. It's not good for electronic music, guys. Help me. Yeah, some overdrive, you know how we do it, and some utility to change the volume of the signal throughout the track. So here it's like, we're gonna have it, but it's not as important anymore. Because during that part, I bring the melody from the chord bus or whatever you want to call it back in, which was gone before. So now we want to have the listener focus on that and pull this 303 sound to the background so that things keep evolving. Yeah, so that filters in when you can see there's a jump in the filtering here. So it gets a little brighter in terms of the melody. And then 303, we kind of say, yeah, you're cool still, but we're not going to listen to you quite as loud. And it looks like I have some. I think this is just like a really. Yeah, it's a single note. I think this is sitting at the fifth of the track. And it's just like a string sound, and it's really quiet. I think you probably can't hear it right now because I have a gate here. Let's see if I turn this gate off. The noise that's generated from the vinyl. It's like I didn't want to listen to that, but let's see. So that's like you basically can't even hear that really in the mix. But it seemed to give, just because it's sitting on the fifth, kind of like an uneasy feeling that is good for like when there's changes going on and drops and these types of things. So yeah, it's just like I think this is an Arturia setup here, augmented strings, and then some reverb, spacey. Again, not really the main focus. Some more mid drops, sidechain, and volume automation throughout. So yeah, that just sits in the back. I remember adding this kind of later because the drop was okay, but it wasn't where I wanted it to be. And when I put it in, it seemed to add just a little bit more excitement. Again, very subtle, and maybe I'm crazy, but I think that it just does something. Yeah, I've missed some pieces that are important here in terms of like sending stuff to buses or to returns and send and returns and stuff. But I think okay, and then there's this ARP, which basically again. Excuse me, I haven't really done, like, it's also pretty quiet. it's just another element. Yeah, it's got a lot of overdrive on it. It loses some definition in the mids, I think, when you put that overdrive on, but it's fine. It just sits there. And then some EQing to bring out the highs, and yeah, counter. Pretty sure, I bring the volume down a lot here because nobody cares about this ARP anymore. We hate it now, right? But I bring it back up after, 16 bars, and then drop it again. So something's happening, and then something changes. So it's pretty much inaudible throughout the main pieces here, but it's another element in the background that does something. Okay, so the vocals are kind of a big piece of this track. It gives it like a dance room vibe, whatever. So I noticed, especially after mastering this, that some of the sibilance within the vocal was like pretty bad here, especially in the area where it's not gated, but I was too lazy to change it. So take that into account. Anyway, so it looks like I basically chopped up a sample and organized it into something that sounded kind of cool. And then I've got some a reverb on it. And on this main piece, I have a trance gate, which does a lot of the work. There's a Saturn for saturation, I think. Looks like the low band I've left, and then I did basically nothing to the upper area of the spectrum. Let's see. It actually kind of smooths it out a little, I think. And then some delay with H delay. That trance gate. Okay, trance gate. I don't want to get into that, guys. The trance gate I enable when the drop hits, right? So here. Yeah, there's no gating going on, and then the drop hits and it's like, ooh, dancey. And I think that there is some overall filtering on the vocal bus, which brings it to life, and this send, I think I use it as like a verb trigger or something somewhere. So yeah, I have this set up in parallel. I have a plate, which I only want really, in this case, I only wanted it to be active after the vocals, like the dry signal came through, so that it's like this push-pull relationship. And yeah, I'll just... So I use the sun send, which is like a dry version of this signal, to and lower amplitude to trigger this compressor so that it's ducking out of the way basically anytime the main bit is playing, and then when it's not, that little plate comes in. Maybe you can hear it. Yeah, so there's a big swell without it. It's kind of like it muddies things up. It doesn't let the dry version of the vocal come through as well. And then some sidechain compression from the kick. Yeah, and then this, I was trying to record some stupid shit by myself. And stuff wasn't really working out too well. And I ended up leaving the chain that I had on the bus on here, and then I just was like, sample, and I picked one and threw it on, and the processing chain that I already had on the bus sounded pretty cool, so I left it. So all of that, like, see. Without it.
I watch the sunrise.
Some chick, bro. What? That's no chick.
I watch the sunrise.
So yeah, this chain does quite a lot to the overall sound. Cuts the lows. So I'm going to turn everything off and run through it. Because it's a cool chain.
I watch the sunrise. I watch the sunrise. Sunrise. I watch the sun.
So I guess the compression here is heavy. Is very, very heavy.
I watch the sunrise. I watch the sunrise. I watch the sunrise.
So it's kind of squashing everything and keeping it at one level. Great tube compressor replica, and then some auto tune is. So that is what gives it a lot of character, or starts to. And I guess yeah, like low male. Well, I'm a low male. I must have had this set for myself. Yeah, I had this set for my voice before, and then it just accidentally worked out. And then little altar boy. So it gives it like a double. And it's enabled heavily. Yeah, so there's like a fuzz added to it and a four-man shift. Bring the signal down because this is a very hot signal. It's running hot. And then yeah, I'm going to crush it some more. Crushed it some more and distorted it. Actually, no, sorry. This is more for like just kind of flavor, I think, because I'm pretty sure that this is based off of a Neve preamp, this setting. So it gives like a very silky feeling to the vocal. And then Primal Tap more, apparently. And oh, look at that. It's a preset. I was like, yo, I don't go this far in detail. Okay, so cool points. It makes it sound cool, guys. Then cut a lot and just emphasize this like vocal region, I guess, from 1 kilohertz to like 2. So maybe sounds a little bit thin by itself, but I think it sounds kind of cool in the overall mix. Yeah, so see, to me it seems to work. OTT, because it's a main element. Generally, I don't use this much like OTT, but I think this song, because of the style it is, I did want to push some stuff to the front to make it more energetic. So that's what that's for. And then this cuts some of the harsh frequencies out. The sibilance a little bit of probably. I don't know. I don't think I had this active. Yeah. I don't. Oh man, go away. Filtering. Did I filter this? Okay, and then a tape stop, which this is so stupid. Like, what a waste of time here. Yeah, right here, tape stop. So, right? Damn, that guy knows what he's doing. No, it's just a plugin. But like, how much does it add? I don't know. And then yeah, some more filtering. Oh, this is the final stage of filtering, I guess, for this. So introduce it slowly, bring it in. And to be fair, there's not much of a drop in energy there, but some of the highs get cut out. And then the different vocal sample run through the same kind of chain. Just with, it looks like some stereo mix automation. Yeah, so there's like sends and stuff going on within the change section here where it gets more kind of spazzy. right? So there's no delay that comes in if you after the vocal chop finishes here. It's like push the delay up, the mix of the delay, and then that comes in, and yeah, it's a cool little effect to keep things changing. And then we cut it again so the dry comes through. Bring it up again, mess with the cutoff, so have it bright, and then as she sings, pull some of the frequencies in the higher end of the spectrum away. Drummical. Yeah, so and then there's some stupid, like, almost ad-lib-ish hip-hop style chops here that I probably don't even need, but more, not, yeah, I don't know, however you want to define them. They suck. Like, it's really cheeseball, but it's in the background. So, yeah, whatever. Okay, so that's basically it for the vocals. I have some of those shitty recordings that I did before of myself are here. So we'll pretend you didn't listen to this. Just some dumb stuff. And then, yeah, this I think sits along, like, it just keeps the first part of the track interesting. Right, you have it run for 16 bars here, and then you can't just keep listening to that crap. So it gives it like a cool swell and like ambience in the background and keeps things changing again. Yeah, I pushed the highs down because wanted it to sit in the back and sound magic and those types of things. And then what is this? Oh yeah, this is that cool guy. This is the cool guy. So that's just run through a whole bunch of EQs. What is this, sidechain probably? No, I just wanted to squish him. Squish that man. Some auto-tune. Not crazy, some auto-tune. A lot of... Oh, what is going on here? Maybe it's this guy. Yeah, I never use this plugin. I don't know. Evil Modder preset on this Eventide Octavox. Like, it's really lame if you don't have it on. Listen to how crappy that is. Can't stop thinking about you. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. Now that's cool. Delay and cutting. Yeah, just focusing the mid-range again, and it's just there. It's a little piece of ear candy. It kind of responds to the synth melody a little bit. So it's like the synth melody plays, and then this guy goes, "Hey, what's up? I'm cool." Well, the second section of the melody plays over top of the cool guy, but he's kind of there responding to it, I guess. Yeah, and then this is just like a recording of a market, I think, hence the name. So, kind of, it's gonna sit low in the mix. We don't care too much about the details. This is a disaster of an EQ going on there, and brought the width down because, again, leaving space for everything else. but it's an organic sound, and I kind of like using those within songs sometimes because if you go out and get like a good field recording, this isn't mine, this is from a sample pack, but if you do, or you use a sample pack, you're there's always changes within that environment that happen naturally and organically that you'll never be able to replicate through software. And using that within these types of tracks gives it a more natural feel, I guess. And it's so subtle, like you can kind of hear the clicks and stuff come through every once in a while. Looks like there's some more filtering on this bus here. Is anything going on? No, never mind. I haven't actually done anything automation wise here. There's quite a lot of automation going on within these channels too, so that helps keep things interesting. And then your typical transition effects. So yeah, I've cut some of the lows here to leave room for the bass. We got, I'm not, maybe I should, I'll just quickly run through this stuff. It's not as important, but it keeps the track progressing again. And sometimes you can get away with less tracks because you can use like automation and tricks within the main arrangement to keep going without having to use these like presets basically for different things. So I think there's a cymbal layered with that noise, right? Probably some reverb, super massive, and then another cymbal here. Little noises, so little pieces of ear candy and transition pieces throughout the track. And there's probably sidechain compression and stuff on here. Okay, that's during the drop. There's a piece here that I kind of like quite a bit. I think it combines kick and where's that snare roll also? I want to show you guys that. Is it here? Oh no. There we go. Okay, this is a snare roll that I made. So it's just a sample. I think that this outside, yeah, it has more of the splash to it. So I cut that out of the center layer. Yeah, so the two together complement each other kind of. And this, I faded that splashy part in so that it doesn't hit at the same time that this main snare triggers. So it allows that transient to punch through and the outside swell of white noise kind of, or whatever you want to call it, comes in. Then there's automation on the level here and a filter as well as some stereo delay and reverb, late reverb. So that combines with everything else. Yeah, so then that comes in, and then I think it's this part here. Yeah, because again, you can just kind of copy and paste, but the kick here during this first 8 bars of the drop, I edited it. And then I have that kind of working in conjunction with these noises down here. So it's like white noise comes in, the kick changes, this clap hits, and then this clap hits, and everything works together to give that like a bigger feeling when this second 8 bars comes in. So sometimes, yeah, it's can be a pain to organize stuff like this and get it to work as well, but it can pay off because it helps the track feel a little more exciting and unique at different sections. And then we got this guy, of course, best for last, Big Suck. I doubt it's anything at all. Yeah, so added in because there's, yeah, the vocal drops here, right? And then Big Suck comes in, but you don't even really hear it. It's just a subtle change that works alongside the kick, probably. Like it's out of the way of the kick, right? A little suck in and then the kick hits. Yeah, so that's, I hope that that walkthrough was helpful. I apologize for the length of this video. It's been quite long, but there's stuff that I glossed over, I'm sure. If you guys have any questions or comments, please feel free to drop them. Do my best to help you out or get back to you. Yeah, I hope I didn't miss too much, but cheers and take it easy.